Okay, guys, so before I get into this episode, I gotta tell you guys about this amazing app that I found for podcasters. If you are interested in podcasting, never had a podcast before, know nothing about podcasting, I'm telling you, you want to download this app. It's called the Anchor app. Now, the Anchor app has literally everything you could ever need to build your podcast for absolutely $0. I am not joking. It's literally what I use to record my podcast every week. If you are at all interested in getting into the game, you want resources, you want to be able to record with friends, you want to be able to have all the things that you need basically as a starter kit, you want to download this app. Just go to anchor.fm and get started. Guys, you're going to thank me later, I'm telling you. Hey, coming through, just you or your crew. I just want to tell you about some news you could use. It's the All Black Matters Pod. Hey. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of the All Black Matters Podcast. Thank you so much again for tuning in to another episode. It has been fun. I have been enjoying this. I know you guys have too. Thank you so much for the support. This week, I have an amazing episode for you guys. Today, I sit down with a Ghanaian American Afrofusion artist. Her name is Agyakomah. And we just talk about what it's like to have our artistry finally come out into the world, what it's like to have a come up during quarantine, which is so unique. Like, that's such a unique experience. And just everything that comes along with being an Afrofusion Black Ghanaian American artist. Well, welcome to the All Black Matters podcast, Agyakomah. Is that, did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, Agyakomah, you got it.
There we go. I wanted to make sure I got that right. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy week to kind of sit and talk to me and just kind of be here with us this week. So
thanks. It's an honor.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I guess you can do a mini intro and let people know who you are and kind of what you do. We can take it from there.
Yep. Sounds good. I'm Agyakomah and I am an Afrofusion artist from New York. I'm Ghanaian, first generation Ghanaian. And a lot of the work I do and a lot of the things I'm working on now are really centered around that identity, that fusion of different cultures, sounds, fashion, lifestyle. And I'm just putting that all in my music. I went to college in New York at a state school and I studied public relations and communication. So that's kind of my background. And for the past few months, I've really just been working solely on my musical projects.
What excites you the most about your music, or just I guess entering this new space?
I think the fact that it's so new and the fact that I have so much to learn and I have so much to grow. I think for a while, I was always working on my music on the side or outside of class or outside of my internships, outside of work. It was always just whenever I had the time, whenever I had the money, whenever I had any kind of resource. But now I feel like I'm in a space where I have all of those things to a certain extent, and I have more, most importantly, number one, time to really pursue these things fully and deeply. So I'm extremely just excited to get in my bag and really dig deep in myself to really write these songs, really work with other people, collaborate more, perform more, and really explore my full artistry in a way I feel like I have not yet.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit before, but I wanted to know what kind of led you to choose Afrofusion as opposed to other genres. And I know you talked a little bit about it, but if you can kind of elaborate about that.
Yeah, for sure. I say Afrofusion for a couple of reasons. The first reason, which is not necessarily musical, is I feel like I kind of said earlier, my identity is based on being first generation African, specifically being first generation Ghanaian and what that's like. And these specific unique experiences we have. And I think a lot of first generation people, whether you're Caribbean or Haitian or whatever it is, you can relate to a certain kind of experience.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I say Afrofusion, it's like the lifestyle, it's that certain experience. And then on the musical side, Afrofusion is just a multitude of sounds. I feel like I grew up, my personal taste has always been like R&B, soul, pop, you know, like from Mariah Carey to Whitney Houston to like Boyz II Men, Destiny's Child. Like I really love R&B, soul, pop, Janet Jackson, all of that. But like around the house, like of course my parents are listening to like Ghanaian music, high life, hip life. On Sundays in the car, we're listening to like Ghanaian gospel music. And that's kind of what I feel like I was like subconsciously inundated with. So now that I'm creating my own sound, I feel like I was trying so long to find a sound that kind of allowed me to have my like R&B and soul influenced vocals over more like Afro inspired instrumentation and Afro inspired tracks. And I think now stuff I'm working on, people have yet to hear it, but now I think I'm really finding that balance and really creating that fusion sound. And right now it's R&B and soul that's being fused in, but I feel like with that I have so much room. Like maybe one day it's going to be more rock, you know, maybe I might fuse like other elements that I never thought I would. So that's why I say Afrofusion.
That's actually really beautiful, because I think a lot of times now people, even listening to Afro music, don't know the differences between the different Afro genres, because like within Afro music there's a spectrum of different types of, you know, genres within that, you know, and even different countries and things like that. And I think when people hear just like Afro anything, they just group everything as one. So I guess that's kind of why I was asking you to kind of like, so that people are aware like there are different genres within Afro music. It's not just, you know, everything being the same.
I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, because I think now, especially that we're in this Afrobeats explosion, which is amazing, because like I remember being in high school and listening to like Fuse ODG and like knowing about Wizkid and these other artists, and like to see them now, it's crazy, because they weren't that popular when I was in high school, and now they've blown. But yeah, like you said, I think now that Afrobeats has kind of like opened the space, I think now we're trying to find, or other artists who aren't exactly Afro beats are going to be coming up and having their own renditions and having their own style. And I think it's important that we kind of, you know, try to distinguish that as much as possible.
Yeah, and make room for it, you know, because like, sometimes when you're only being fed one thing, or when people only know about one thing, they kind of just want to put you in a category, you know what I mean? Like they do that even with American artists and American music. It's just like, okay, you should be an R&B singer. Maybe you're not. Maybe you have a whole bunch of different, you know, spectrums of things that you kind of want to get into, or you want to display, showcase with the world, but they kind of make you feel like you only have to do that one thing. And I think now that we're experiencing this new explosion of all this beautiful music, you know, that we're getting, I think it's just important for us to like make room for everyone. You know,
absolutely.
Be able to ingest what you like, and if you don't like it, you know, that's fine, but just be open to things. You know? How has your experience been with other artists, either Afro artists or like up and coming artists here in New York, collaborating, or like just even having conversation, networking, things like that?
Yeah, it's so funny you asked that question, because literally I just spoke to she's a performing artist, a creative writer, spoken word artist. I was just speaking to her yesterday, and we were kind of having this conversation about like, how has your experience been like talking to other people in this genre, in this Afro alternative creative scene? And so far, I feel like from the few people I've been speaking to, like they've been really open, and they've been really like willing to provide me like any information, any insight they know about, any techniques, anything that I may need support on. So far, the people I've reached out to, they've been really supportive and really helpful, and like they genuinely want to guide me. And I think something that's really important, I think for me specifically, is that like I'm always trying to figure out like how my music can connect to, like, obviously people are here, but obviously people who are back home, specifically for me, that's in Ghana. And I think it's cool that, you know, the people I've reached out to also, like one of them actually, they've grown up in Ghana, they recently came to the US, and I'm able to like get insight from him on how the industry is over there, and I can share my experience on how the industry is over here. And it's like that trading of information, it really is, because I think that trading of information is going to help us like build whatever is happening over there, but also build a bridge. So I think it's the collaborations, the partnerships. I think the networking is super important amongst creatives. I think that so far has been helping me, and I'm hoping to like do that more and talk to different artists specifically who are also coming up. The bigger artists are already there and they're doing their thing, but like you were mentioning before about making room for people who may not actually specifically be Afro beats, who may be doing something, that's a little left of that. I think it's important to come together and figure out ways that we can all come up together.
Here I asked Agyakomah what her experience was like collaborating with artists outside of Afro.
There's an artist who's Saint Lucian, and like he heard one of my songs, and he's more reggae fusion.
Yeah.
But I think when he heard one of my songs, it was "We Gonna Be Alright." He resonated with it because of the fusion sound, I think specifically.
Right.
Obviously, I don't want to be pigeonholed to just working with Ghanaian artists or African artists.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to work with people who challenge me, most importantly, who challenge me to kind of like do work that's outside of that framework and outside of that structure and, push me to be better. So I'm totally open to that.
That's
and
beautiful.
I love live music. So like the goal in my performances and stage performances, like I would love to work with like live bands, background singers. Like the live element is super, super important to me.
As a performer or as an artist, I can imagine it would be a bit difficult, or I guess different, to navigate this space now that everything is pretty much digital. How has that experience been for you?
Interestingly enough, I think for me, I don't know, I always say I feel like the floodgates kind of opened for me because one, I had lost my job in April. So that was like, wow, the time factor opened up, like all of a sudden I had all this time I never had before.
Right.
And then I just started being more aggressive in like whatever my musical projects and initiatives were. And then all of a sudden I just started seeing like everything was happening online, and like people started reaching out saying, hey, I'd love for you to perform on this online festival. I'd love for you to perform on this performance. Yeah, all of these things have been coming through, and it's like, whoa, like this. Like, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to people just hitting me up out of nowhere wanting me to perform.
Right.
Network more and connect more with different people and different artists who are working on different projects, and like figuring out how I can fit into that. But I think the common theme here is that time. Like, time is something we don't get back. So I think that has been what has allowed me to, get these opportunities and make this COVID time period, which is pretty grim and pretty tough, work for me in a weird way.
That's incredible, because a lot of times, like you said, this time is like really, really tough for a lot of people, and obviously in different fields it's different. I recently spoke to a makeup artist who is kind of going back into work now, and she was saying that how, like for her it's been a bit different because for a while she wasn't getting anything. And it's interesting to know that in this time, because obviously that's a more hands-on job that you kind of have to literally be in people's faces. And as an artist, I guess I came in kind of thinking it would probably be a bit similar for you, because right now things have been digital, but you're so right, like everything has become like a digital performance almost. Like,
I think what makes it different for me is that I'm still like emerging and I'm still upcoming. So I'm not like a huge artist who has had everything stopped. Like, they're already in motion and things kind of stop for them. I'm kind of starting from the point where it's like I'm still building. So I have room to pivot, change. Like, if something happens, I can go a different way. I can create an initiative and just go from there. Like, there's nothing really, I don't have anything that necessarily is being stopped. So I think that's why it might be different for me as opposed to other artists.
Your audience, I would assume, is probably building more as well as, networking with other people in the industry. Like, how is that, you would say, more so now that, things have transferred to online for you? Or do you think it would have been the same if COVID never happened?
To be honest, I don't think it would have been the same, even though, like I said, I got all this time back I never had before. But I think because of the time period we're in, I started using social media in a way I never have before. Like, I used to just hate social media. I still don't love it, but like now, like I'm doing like my Pay Me What You Owe series, and it's like I'm using Instagram Live more, and I've been connecting with a bunch more people.
Right.
My growth, it was pretty slow, I guess, before 2020, because I really wasn't active online. But once this COVID time period started, I started like posting more, starting like hitting people up on LinkedIn, started really connecting with people. And I've definitely seen like a faster growth in all social platforms, but also in my personal network that I've never seen before.
Right.
And I keep going back to time because I really think it's the time that allowed me to like hit up 30 people on LinkedIn, talk to them on the phone, have just like regular conversations with them, that has allowed me to build this network. So yeah, I think I've met people in like media, communications, like radio, people who do media in Ghana, people who are entertainment in the Ghanaian music industry, people who are in the music industry here, who are in college or who are upcoming, trying to, be on the back end, producers, music executives, marketers, people who are a bit more established in their career in entertainment, the creative arts, journalism. Like, I've been able to meet so many different people. And again, luckily for me, they've all been seemingly very genuine and like, being there if like I need support, if I have a question, like,
right.
And I think it's also because they have the time to like actually help someone or mentor someone or provide feedback to someone and help like people who are trying to come up. So to be honest, I don't think it would be the same if COVID didn't happen, because also I can't remember if you're from New York. I think you are.
Yes.
So like, how going to events and networking is. Like, I'm a little bit outside the city. So if I wanted to like go into like all of the events, which all happen in like Manhattan or Brooklyn or something, that's me taking like an hour, commute there, or that's me staying later after work, not getting home till midnight. Whereas now, okay, Zoom, I need a meeting ID, got it. Okay, boom, I'm there. Everything's so much easier. You can participate in more of these programs and networking activities.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more convenient now. I could see that, especially if you're not someone who lives where everything is. Luckily for me, I'm in Brooklyn, so I am a little bit closer to where things happen. But yeah, I would imagine that just that commute, it would definitely make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Pay Me What You Owe Me, that series, and you have a song called Pay Me What You Owe Me. And I kind of want to talk to you about like what the influence and what inspired, the song.
Pay Me What You Owe. The song and the series really came up because I wrote the song I'm almost positive I wrote the song like late 2019. And I remember just thinking about, I was still working at a job that I didn't love. And I remember just always feeling like, like kind of undervalued, underappreciated, but always feeling like the company felt like I should be grateful for like the salary I'm getting, or I should be grateful that I'm working there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I just hated that feeling. I would remember like working and thinking to myself, like, you're not even paying me like that much for me to be feeling this way. You're not paying me that much. So yeah, so I wrote the song like saying something I wish I could have said out loud. Like, I think we all been through that experience where whether you're like a freelancer who has a client or, a business owner, whatever it is, like you're always kind of like pay me what you owe, like pay me what I deserve. So the song came from that aspect. And it's crazy because I feel like now with all that's going on, especially within the Black community, like really trying to fight for, pay equity, against our peers, it's like we're really talking about pay me what you owe, like pay me what you deserve, but also like actually pay me what you owe, like what you've taken from us. So I released a song and it's gotten such great feedback. Like people actually messaging me saying like, I'm going through the same thing. Like I just graduated college and it's really hard finding a job, like those kinds of comments, like, oh, like you really said what you had to say on that. I'm sharing it with my family. Those things mean a lot to me. So I was like, you know what? I am not the only one who's gone through this experience, like graduating college, feeling like I have all of this experience and I'm applying to all of these jobs and not biting, and like I get a job and it's not even paying that much. Like it's not new. So I figured, you know what, because of this network that I was able to acquire during this time period, going back to our previous conversation on like like networking.
Yeah.
I reached out to some of those people who I've met recently or in the past, and I, let them know I'm doing this series, and I would love for them to kind of share their experience, what it was like post-grad. And what's cool is that these people are from different backgrounds at different levels, and I thought that was kind of the key there. So in the first week of July, we had 2020 graduates speaking, because I feel like their experience is so unique. They're going through so much, and I know it's really difficult for them to like navigate the waters and figure out like what their next step was. With internships they've received, they've been taken away because like companies can't bring them on. So they're going through a lot. So I had them on the first week. Last week, or I think actually this week, is first generation. So people who are first in their family to go to college, or who are actually a first generation, like their parents are from a different country, what that experience is like. Because, sometimes our parents expect us to go one way, we go the other way, and sometimes there's drama. Yeah. And next week is entry-level people, and the last week is mid-level professionals, which you're going to be a part of, which is very exciting.
I'm excited.
And like those are all very specific experiences you go through at each of those levels, because they all have their own separate challenges. So I really wanted to hear from other people with their experience regarding post-grad and like that whole pay me what you owe concept. So I wanted to hear it from the people.
Like you said, like we all have an experience similar to that. I think a lot of people do anyway. I would say, especially in the Black community, I think that we oftentimes are the ones who are the ones that have to say that, kind of like, pay me what you owe me. And a lot of people sometimes, going kind of back to being an immigrant or having immigrant families, sometimes it's this idea that, I'm just going to take whatever you give me kind of thing. And it's like similar to kind of what you said with the place that you were working, where it's like she should be happy that we're even hiring her. That kind of attitude. And it happens so much, I think, when they employ Black people, because it's kind of like, I guess, I don't know, just the trauma of everything and like slavery and all of that stuff, I think a lot of times impacts in certain environments, not all of them, but in certain environments, how we're treated and how we're expected to kind of relate to our superiors, if you want to call it that, in the corporate world. So I think it's a beautiful thing that, first of all, that was birthed out of that experience, because it makes it so much richer, and that you were able to like kind of make it a movement in a way, because it kind of sounds like that's what that is. Like, like, let's all talk about our experiences, around this.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't even think about it like that. I was just thinking like, oh, it'll be a nice, like, community builder kind of thing. But maybe it is a low-key movement.
Yeah, definitely. I see it as that. And it's empowering, because like you said, you have people that come to you and kind of are like, wow, like this resonated with me. That's what movements do.
Oh my God.
It causes change. It causes people to kind of like have an opinion and say something. So
absolutely. And that's really, thank you so much. And that's really like the power of, I feel like, music. And that's the emotion, that's the feeling I want to invoke with every single song. Like whether it's like 5 people who give me that feedback, but that's enough to let me know, okay, like whatever emotion I was trying to hit, I hit it.
Being a Black artist, in a time like this where so much is going on, and it's like so much emotion, there's so much rage, there's so many feelings, just anything that might have been something that touched you, whether it was personal or just by extension of you being a Black woman in this environment. Like, how has that been impactful for you, I guess, on a regular day-to-day basis and also within your music?
I think on a day-to-day basis, or I guess overall, it kind of shows me that our community is still interested in seeing work from us. I think a lot of the times, like specifically, I guess maybe in music, I don't know how it is in other art forms, but like I feel like sometimes like Black artists may feel like they have to change their work to be more mainstream, to be more popular, to like have it fit into another audience for them to like gain traction. But I think what I appreciate about like what is happening right now, and something that I've been like really internalizing, is that people want our community specifically, but I also think even people who are outside the community, they want to hear our stories our way. Like whatever sound we have, however we speak, like we can put it in the music exactly the way it is. and people want to consume that. The Nigerian artists like speaking like pidgin or whatever their native language is in their music. People may not understand, but like they want to hear that, you know?
Right.
And I think, and I appreciate that, because I think sometimes as artists, we fall into this mindset that like, oh, like if we want a bigger audience or if we want other people to hear it, it's like we have to change something. Like it can't be too aggressive, or it can't be too this, or it can't be too that. And I think, you know, our community is telling us like, no, like come as you are, like be who you are in your work. And like, that's what we want to hear. Moving forward, I think it's something that, like I said, I'm internalizing, and it's making my writing that much more raw, I think, because I know for me right now, I'm getting ready to work on like my first debut EP. And when I'm
exciting,
very, very, very exciting. And as I'm gathering thoughts and sounds and figuring out what I'm trying to do, it's this time period that's letting me know, like, just say exactly what you have to say. Like, don't mince your words. Don't try to cover how you feel. Just say exactly how you feel. Because 5 years down the line, or when the next generation comes up, they're going to know. They're going to see that and be like, wow, this came from this time period, you know?
I agree completely. I think a lot of artists now who are just, you know, like just absolutely unapologetic about whatever the messaging is being consumed so well right now. I think that even hearing new artists who are like celebrating Black culture, something that's, you know, African or maybe, you know, Caribbean or whatever it is, just kind of like celebrating our art form and things that are uniquely us a lot of the times is something that we're kind of like, yes, like kind of almost hungry for.
It's like that because we haven't seen that. Like it hasn't occurred at this level with this intensity before. So it's a super important time for people to make, you know, and not just make, I just want to point this out, and not just make like a political song because you feel like, oh, like we're in that time. So whatever I say has to say like Black Lives Matter, because then people are going to point out that like this doesn't feel genuine, especially if that's not the kind of work you were making before. It's like, however you authentically feel, even if right now all you want to feel, all you're talking about is like loving up on someone and like being in a relationship. That's what it is. Like, be true. Just be true to your work and be true to your art.
So having covered all the deep stuff, I was interested in knowing what was next for Agyakomah on this journey.
On Instagram, I'm at _Agyakomah_. So that's _Agyakomah_. And then I'm on SoundCloud, Spotify, you know, YouTube, everywhere, Agyakomah. And definitely don't be afraid to reach out. Like, I love talking to people. I love like learning about people, and I love just having regular conversations like what we did right now. Like, I love doing that on the regular. So don't be afraid to hit me up. So it's been a really, really beautiful journey. And I think now I'm really seeing the fruits of my labor and being to like execute in a way I feel like I haven't before, like in terms of just like releasing songs and again, getting that feedback, and like, there's like a certain momentum for me picking up. So I think throughout the rest of the year, one, I'm just praying that like the year can settle down a bit, like for the coronavirus to like really just not affect so many people. Like, I'm hoping we can get back to, I hate saying like new normal because that phrase is really annoying, but just get back to some type of livable way. For me, like I said, I'm working on this this EP, and I hope when it comes out, like it makes an impact. I hope it does. Before that, I'm working on filming this little, I guess, live performance, which is cool, next month. So I'm going to be sharing that. Yeah, sharing that as well. I worked on it throughout this. Actually, fun fact, I worked on this performance that I'm getting ready to shoot. I worked on it through this quarantine period, through Zoom, through the dancers that I'm working with. So I learned the whole choreography through Zoom, which was a bit confusing, and the whole performance. So when I shoot that, I'm definitely going to share that with people. But yeah, just continuing making music and like connecting with people and talking with different artists and figuring out how I can continue to like share my music with people, again, who are here, but also have people who are back home relate to it and understand it as well. So you'll be seeing a lot from me.
Thank you so much again for joining me on the All Black Matters podcast. Guys, everything that she just said, all the links, I will have that in the description if you didn't catch it. So do not worry. It will be there for you if you want to go and check her out. And yeah, thank you again. This was great. I love this conversation.
Me too. Me too. I really do. You asked great questions.
Oh, yeah. I try. So thank you so much again and have a great day.